UAB Funk Club.
If you're coming to UAB, whether for work or school, let me save you from a mistake a lot of people make. They pick a place based on price or what looks good online, and then they spend the next year dealing with a long commute, bad parking, or living in an area that just doesn't fit their lifestyle. And when you're working long shifts, that stuff matters more than you think, because a 5-minute commute could mean more sleep, more sanity, and fewer late night drives after 28-hour shifts. But with dozens of neighborhoods to choose from high-rise lofts, historic homes, quiet suburbs, how do you know where to start? So let's break down the best places to live near UAB and how to actually choose the right one. Birmingham gives you a lot of options. You got places where you can walk to the hospital, neighborhoods full of character just a few minutes away, and quieter areas a little farther out where you can get more space. But the goal isn't just to find a place, it's to find the right place for how you actually are gonna live. Because your schedule, your budget, and your lifestyle are gonna determine what actually works. So in this video, we're gonna break down the best place to live near UAB. We'll talk commute times, what each area actually feels like, and what you can expect to pay, and the trade-off that doesn't always show up online. And as we
My bad, y'all. What's good, YouTube? Silver Mac here, back with another video. We are looking at this video brought to you by Adam Snow. Adam Snow, baby! I had to do that every single time I see his name. He's a Birmingham realtor, and basically he's talking about the best places to live near UAB hospital, right? So that is, to summarize it, I'm gonna say is mainly for people that work at the hospital or go to school. You know, ideally, you don't want to be too far from the college campus itself. Just because the further out as you go away from the downtown area in Birmingham, Alabama, you deal with a lot of traffic at a certain amount of time that could save you so many hours each day, whether it's in the morning, whether it's in the evening, and it really just comes down to that, really. We're going to take a look at this, and he's going to give you one perspective. I'm going to be able to give you my perspective as well to see if we both agree, and let's just go from there, Let's do this.
we go, think about this. Do you want convenience, space, or a balance of both? Because that answer is going to guide everything. So let's start right where UAB is, downtown Birmingham. If your top priority is being as close as possible, this is the easiest decision you're going to make. Most places downtown are within half a mile to a mile from the hospital. That means your commute is basically nothing, 2 to 5 minutes maybe by car, or honestly, you may even be able to get there without a car. A lot of people here are walking, biking, or using a scooter to get to work. You're not thinking about traffic, you're not building in extra time, you're not sitting at red lights after a long shift, you're just there. And that simplicity can make a day feel a lot more manageable. Now, as far as what downtown actually looks like, to live in it has a very distinct feel compared to the rest of Birmingham. You've got a mix of historic lofts buildings, mid-rise condo developments, and newer apartment complexes. A lot of the older units have been exposed brick, big windows, high ceilings. There's some really cool places to live down there.
Really
There's
dope.
convenience to walk to restaurants, grab coffee, meet friends after work, and there's usually something going on at all times. So if you're someone who wants to be right in the middle of everything, downtown gives you just that. Now let's talk numbers. Condos downtown average around $240,000. One bedrooms typically go closer to 190, 2 bedrooms 270, and once you get into larger or more updated units, you can see prices in the 400s. And on the rental side, most people are going to fall somewhere between $1,200, $1,500, $1,800 a month, depending on the building, the condition, and amenities. And while downtown gives you convenience, it also comes with trade-offs. Of course, you're right in the middle of everything, which is great, but there also means noise. You'll hear traffic, people, sometimes nightlife, depending on where you are. Parking also can be limited in certain buildings. There are buildings that have designed parking, otherwise it's street parking. And compared to other areas, you're typically getting less space for your money. So this is really just comes down to priorities. If you value simplicity, walkability, and being as close as possible to UAB, this is one of the best options there are. But if you're someone who needs quiet, more space, or just want a little separation from the city, you may find yourself wanting to be just a few minutes outside of downtown instead. And that's where the next group of neighborhoods come in.
So, to translate this in black person, if you earn a high living, if you make high revenue, ideally six figures, all of that stuff, right? Downtown is the place that you need to be, because in a sense, you can make the money and get a high quality of being in the downtown. There are all the amenities near the events. Technically, you should be able to save money with everything being in walking distance. And then you should be able to afford to get drunk without having to worry about driving around anywhere. And you can kind of Uber and all of that stuff in that regard, right? So for those type of people, this is the ideal place. This is people like lawyers, big business bureau, medical fields, high earning professions will live down here. Okay? Maybe even if the rich kid or rich family members getting taken care of and they have fortune, this would be ideal, right? There's still gonna be a lot of noise. You gotta be used to the noise, gotta be used to how busy it's gonna sound. At night it gets real quiet, but at the same time there is the risk factor there, depending on which side of the downtown you are. It does save you minutes to go into a lot of events that are based on downtown. You don't have to worry about being stuck in traffic. It does wonders in certain regards. It does have a Publix as far as the grocery store is concerned, and then the rest of it pertaining to like a Walmart or anything like that, I'm pretty sure you would do delivery in some way, shape, or form. Good choice of restaurants depending on if you live on the north side, midtown, or south side. There's a good selection of restaurants. I prefer somewhere near the south side if I had a choice. Just because it feels like there's more options, in a sense. You know, more amenities and stuff like that. There is some on the north side, but I feel like midtown to south side kind of more close connected in a sense. So I'm gonna go with that.
Just south of UAB, you've got Southside, 5 Points South, and Glen Iris. And as for a lot of people coming to UAB, this is where they naturally end up because it checks a lot of the boxes right away. You're still incredibly close. Most of these areas are within a half a mile to 2 miles from the hospital, so you're looking at, 3 to 7 minute drive. And in some cases, you can still bike or even walk depending on exactly where you are. This part of Birmingham has a lot more personality, it's less polished, less uniform, and honestly, that's what a lot of people like about it. You've got older homes, small apartment buildings, duplexes, converted houses, local restaurants that have been there forever, and late night food spots that are actually open when you get off your long shift. And so because of that, it tends to attract a lot of med students, residents, and younger professionals who want to be close to UAB and downtown, but don't necessarily want the high-rise downtown lifestyle.
I built a Wix website overnight, and it helped launch my career as a sketch artist.
Now, the homes here are typically older, most of them built somewhere in the early 1900s to 1950s. So you're getting a lot of character, things like hardwood floors, unique layouts, front porches, but there are a mix of older and new construction as well. That means things won't always be perfect. You may deal with smaller closets, older systems, or homes that have been updated in different ways over the time. So it is a bit of a trade-off between charm and modern convenience. Price-wise, medium home value sits around $350,000, but there is pretty wide range. You'll find smaller condos or fixer-up top properties closer to 200, and then there's fully renovated homes or larger properties pushing much higher. Now, one thing you'll definitely want to pay attention to is parking. Some street parking is fine. Others, you get tight, especially later at night. With the older communities, obviously, they're not getting a lot of garages. It's going to be a lot of street parking. And in some houses, there are driveways. The parking is kind of what you would get with an older home, just not a lot of garages. So if you're getting off work or coming at odd hours, there's something you'll want to think about through ahead of time. And then there's the overall lifestyle. And this is a more active, energetic area. It's a younger area. You've got people out, places open late, and a lot going on, which is great if that's what you want. But it's not going to be quiet or tucked away as some of the neighborhoods we'll talk about later. So if you're someone who wants to be around people in a similar stage of life, wants quick access to UAB, and likes having things to do right outside your door, this area makes a lot of sense. But if you're looking for something a little more quiet, a little more structured, and you may find you're wanting to be a little bit farther out. Now, if you want something that feels close but a little more balanced, Highland Park.
So before they get started, again, if you're actually looking for a house in this area, you just really got to be making a lot of money. It's a bit quieter. Some of the places come with a bit more space, some doesn't. It's closer to the hospital. It's closer to the UAB campus. Y'all can correct me if y'all also live in Birmingham and y'all have more experience with these buildings or this side of town. It's a mixture of a lot of things. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a mixture of, you could be working at a hospital, you could be going to school at the University of Alabama in Birmingham, and there's a lot of duplexes or houses that have multiple apartments where you're going to have roommates on a regular. Throughout the Southside Glen Iris neighborhood, mixed in with enough housing that you can have a proper school environment within the community. So it's like a sorted candy. Some of it is built strictly for the college experience. Some works where people in the medical field can be roommates in the same house and save money over time until they make more money and then move elsewhere. Other than that, you gotta earn a six-figure income and have a certain lifestyle where you just don't want to deal with the traffic or deal with being on the outskirts of town and not being that far away from work naturally. Outside of that, yeah, it's gonna be noisy. It's always gonna be noisy, right? To a certain extent. It does have a good amount of restaurants and entertainment districts and a little bit of everything towards that direction. But that's when you start getting more into the neighborhood, more away from Regent's Park, away from all the entertainment and stuff like that to a certain extent. It depends on which side that you're on, but yes. I would say it does take off a little bit of money for people that's not necessarily spending that crazy amount over time, but at the same time, it draws only a certain selection of assorted people for a specific purpose. If that makes sense. But it's definitely going to cost you. The parking there, the way that the neighborhood is structured, it's just no room to put in garages. You have apartments. Some apartments got garages or old school garages. Most places is really cramped for space. Due to how often they park there, it's hard to kind of repave the roads, or the roads just doesn't get repaved, or it's just very inconvenient if it does get repaved for you to park there. Definitely not a 4-car type of vibe, more like a 1 or 2. Yeah. Be very aware that you have to park very, very careful because some of those roads are very small and you don't want the chance of somebody driving by tapping into your vehicle. So take that in consideration. Other than that, agree with what he's saying so far.
Park is one of the best options in the city. You're about 2 miles from UAB, which usually means a 5 to 7 minute drive depending on traffic. So you're still very close enough that you can feel as easy and predictable, but just far enough away that you don't feel like you're in the middle of everything all the time. And that's really what makes Highland Park stand out. It feels of the neighborhood. When you drive through here, it's noticeably different. You've got tree-lined streets, historic buildings with tons of character. These small parks scattered throughout the neighborhood that people actually use. You'll see people out walking their dogs, going for a run, sitting on benches, meeting friends. It just has a really natural lived-in rhythm to it. There's still energy here, but just in a more relaxed way. And now, in terms of housing, you've got a large mix. There's a lot of condos here, probably one of the most densely populated condo selection in all the areas we're going to talk. Those average around $195,000, and I have one, actually a 1-bedroom condo for sale right now for $165,000, and it's completely renovated. And it's not uncommon to find condos at that price. But then you also have single-family homes, which are going to be more limited and typically more expensive, averaging around $550,000. And similar to the South Side, you're dealing with older construction here. So you'll get character, but also what quirks depending on the property. Well, what really separates Highland Park, though, is how walkable it is without feeling like downtown. You can step outside, walk to coffee shops, grab food, go to the park, and just be out in the neighborhood without needing to get in your car. And for a lot of people, that's the sweet spot. You've got convenience, but also a little bit of separation. You're close to UAB, but you don't feel like you're living at UAB. So if you're someone who wants a short commute, enjoys being able to walk places, and wants a neighborhood that has character, but still feel relaxed and livable, Highland Park is a really strong option. Right next to Highland Park is Forest Park.
All right. So here's what I'm going to say so far. The first section was covering the north side, downtown, to like the midtown downtown, where all the entertainment, the places, the noise is going to be at. It's going to be lively all the time. All right. South side, Glen Iris area, kind of gives you a more school-based family-like structure, but still geared towards the hospital and the university for the most part. Not too far from the main amount of noise and attraction that downtown brings, but it's starting to pull away just a bit. Highland Park, while those other ones were completely directly south of the center of downtown, Highland Park is more going geared towards the southeast corner. It's not as noisy as the last few places, but it's still going to have a considerate amount of noise and traffic, right? And when I say traffic, I'm not talking about like freeway traffic to a certain extent, even though Highway 280 could have a lot of traffic if you're going outbound. But as far as going inbound, you don't have to really jump on the freeway to get closer to downtown, to get to the south side, go to the hospital, this, that, and the other. If you're going outward, then that's a whole different battle in itself, right? But yes, I can agree that it's very peaceful. It is definitely isolated, where it has a certain nature feel where you want to wake up in the morning. You want to have a fresh cup of coffee before you start your day, whether you work remote, where you not walk your dog, have a peaceful park, but still be right next to the louder noise within distance. The entertainment district is not too far away from there, and I would say that they have a little bit of entertainment near them themselves, especially going towards this next direction. From Highland Park to Forest Park, there's still a little bit of sprinkling of restaurants, and you're not that far away from the entertainment district, right? But it starts to get off into a more peaceful setting, but you have to definitely make 6 figures and all that stuff for a single family home. To try to afford a home, if you take care of a condo, you have to have your stuff together and business handle and all that stuff. So you definitely still it's more affordable towards rich people or towards people that make the money to afford it, this lifestyle. But it definitely dialed down from the downtown center and then the south side, but it's still going to cost a bit. This depends on your purpose. If you're a family person, you're still right where you're at, except it costs a bit less and it's a bit less noisy. Um, you still not dealing with traffic because there's roads that you can figure out to take to get to downtown easily. The hospitals are nearby. The food places are nearby that you admire downtown or rely on. The entertainment district is not that far away. Certain parks and areas is, everything is still within range.
Park. And this is one of the most unique neighborhoods in Birmingham. It's also one of my favorite neighborhoods in all of Birmingham as well. And once you drive through it, you understand why people just love it. The homes are stunning. The streets are winding and shaded, and the whole neighborhood just feels different. It's about 3 miles from UAB, so your commute is still very manageable, usually 7 to 10 minutes, so you're close. But it doesn't feel close in the same way that downtown or even Holland Park does. It feels more tucked away, more private, more established. And that's really what sets Forest Park apart. Instead of grid layouts, you've got rolling streets that curve through the neighborhood. The homes aren't all the same. Every house has its own style, its own character. You'll see a mix of Tudor-style homes, cottages, Spanish colonial revival homes, think 1900s historic homes. You don't have a ton of traffic here, so it's not a place people are just passing through. It's a place people go to be in. Now, price-wise, this is a step up. Medium home prices are closer to $600,000, and depending on the home, you'll see that go higher, especially for updated or large properties. But that's what you're paying for, is the environment. You're getting character, space, and a neighborhood that feels a little bit more settled while still being just minutes from UAB. It's one of those rare areas where you can come home after a long day and actually feel like a break from everything. So if you want something that feels established and has a lot of personality and gives you a little separation from busier parts of the city without sacrificing convenience, Forest Park is a definite option to check out. Now, moving a little bit farther out, Crest.
Also, the golf course. I'm not sure why this wasn't brought up. The golf course is probably right as you enter Forest Park. You're going to pass the golf course, you're going to pass the grocery store, a few restaurants, the BP gas station, which is kind of one of the only gas stations. It goes into a really nice neighborhood. It's very beautiful, very peaceful to want to drive. I like the element. I like the family structure that is created there. A lot of different houses for a lot of different ideas and stuff that you go put into your own house. I don't necessarily say anything about people are particularly well in landscape, but it's very peaceful, very beautiful. I definitely can understand why people will live there and not be too far from the downtown area. So I can see how this works for you. You're in a little mixture of everywhere where you can go to the outskirts of town and still be in the range of downtown all day, every day. Can't go wrong with it, especially if you go for this type of lifestyle and afford this type of housing, So take that in consideration. But it's a pretty dope place. If you like a peaceful neighborhood, if you like peace away from going through the week, that's very busy, very loud, this will be the start. This would definitely be the start for me. I would say, in my preference, if it wasn't for me wanting to have a considerate amount of space with my house, where I would want my neighbors to be kind of spaced away, this neighborhood would be ideal. It has enough volume to get a run in, to get your walks in, walk with the dogs and all this stuff. The ideal lifestyle for a family structure for sure. Not too far away from anything. Yeah, I like it. I haven't seen anything wrong with it. Nice windy roads that when you go on a drive, you can have a peace of mind heading home or unwind. No, there's no, like, you're not too far away from the freeway, but the freeway is not noisy enough to interfere with everything. Like even when traffic happens on downtown or on the freeway, it's not affecting your way around through this neighborhood at all. There's gonna be a considerable amount of cars, but it's because there's so many people that live there. It's a really nice environment. I agree with everything you said.
Crestwood. This area sits 4 to 5 miles from UAB, which is usually translates to 10 to 15-minute drive depending on traffic. So you're still close enough that your commute feels pretty easy, but you're starting to get a little more separation from the busier parts of the city. And that's really where Crestwood starts to shine. Over the past few years, it's become one of the most popular areas for young professionals. And once you spend a little time here, it makes sense why. It feels like a neighborhood people are excited to live in. And now Crestwood is split into two main areas, Crestwood North and Crestwood South, and they each have different levels of fill. Crestwood North is known for the 1920s bungalows. These homes have a lot of character, front porches, original hardwood floors, smaller footprints, and that classic historic look. Crestwood South, on the other hand, leans more mid-century. You'll see more ranch-style homes, a little bit more square footage, and in some cases, slightly larger lots. So depending on your style, you can kind of choose which fits better. Now, from a price standpoint, this is where Crestwood really stands out. Medium home prices are around $375,000, which makes one of the better value options this close to UAB, especially when compared to areas like Highland Park or Forest Park, where prices are significantly higher. So you get more space, more house, and still keeping a very reasonable commute. It's not as dense as downtown or south side, but it's also not quiet in the suburban sense either. It kind of sits right there in the middle, and for a lot of people, that's exactly what you're looking for. There's a large population of young professionals in this area, and it's a very popular area for the younger crowd. So if you want character, a strong sense of neighborhood, good value for your money, and a commute that still makes sense for working at UAB, Crestwood is a really strong option. Now, let's talk about one of the most well-rounded areas.
Crestwood. So there's a lot to put into this. All right, so bear with me. So there is one of the main ways going to the outskirts of town, going towards Atlanta, when everybody's getting off work, when everybody's going to work, there is a main road or two that will definitely be busy. Outside of that, Crestwood is amazing, right? Amazing houses. Ideally, based on what he told me just now, as a person that drove through the neighborhood, I'm always going to be a South Crestwood type of person if I had to choose between the two. I like a little bit more space, a little bit more gaps in between the houses, a little bit more acre of land. You know, both have nice greenery, nice scenery, amazing different structured houses, bungalows. I can understand on the north Crestwood area. Definitely not that far from downtown at all. Like you can deal with the little bit of traffic, or you can go through a bunch of roads to get to downtown to avoid the traffic on the main roads going outward. The one thing that he didn't talk about is past a certain point of the north to south Crestwood, as you head out towards the corner of Crestwood going into the Irondale area, you start to come across the Eastwood Crestwood shopping area, where they have a good amount of restaurants, the Amazon location in Irondale, which is right at the line of Irondale and Crestwood and Eastwood, and a few other eating places, gyms, and stuff like that can make a lot of things more efficient, make a lot of things work for you without, if you wanted to have more options pertaining to the grocery store, different set of restaurants and stuff like that, you would go towards Crestwood. Crestwood in itself doesn't necessarily have much of an entertainment type of feel at all, really. But as far as foods, as far as car washes, as far as a few places to take your kid, or parks, getting some walks in and stuff like that, away from the main roads of the traffic, definitely ideal. Definitely ideal.
Homewood. Depending on where you are, you're about 4 to 6 miles from UAB, which usually puts your commute in the 10 to 15-minute range. Sometimes 20, again, just depends on what part of Homewood. So again, you're still close enough that getting to and from work is easy and predictable. You really shouldn't get in too much traffic there or back, but you're far enough out that it feels like you're not at UAB and not in the city. And then within Homewood, you've got a lot of variety. There's walkable areas where you can step outside, grab coffee, go to dinner, and go around people. And then there's quieter pockets where it's more residential, more laid back, and a little bit more private. So depending on what your day-to-day looks like, you can usually find a spot that fits. Now, one of the biggest draws here is the overall lifestyle. You got parks, some of the best local shops in all Birmingham, a huge selection of top restaurants, and just a lot of convenience packed into one area. It's the kind of place where you don't have to go far to find whatever you need. It also tends to attract a wide range of people, young professionals, families, people planning to stay long term. It works for a lot of different stages of life. And one of the reasons it does is because Homewood always ranks as the top or close to the top school district in the state.
Kayak told me when to book to get a great rental car deal. Guess we can stop scrolling for travel advice.
According to niche.com. So it always attracts a lot of families. And when it comes to pricing, it really depends on which part of Homewood you're in. West Homewood is typically the most affordable with medium prices around $435,000. You'll see a mix of smaller homes and some updated larger properties. You get a little bit more value for your money. Edgewood, which is essentially a located part of Homewood and the most walkable area, and because of that, it tends to be the most expensive, around $620,000 on average. This is where you get the true walk to restaurant, walk to coffee neighborhood feel. And then you got the Hollywood side, which is also going to be in the 600 range as well. This area has a lot more classic established feel, larger homes, a little more tree-lined streets. So even within Homewood, you've got options depending on your budget and lifestyle. But overall, it's one of the best places that just works. It's close to UAB, easy to navigate, and it has a lot to offer day to day and tends to hold its value really well over time. So if you're looking for something that feels complete, where you can live, work, and spend your time without having to go far, Homewood is an option that you should definitely look at. And then right next to Homewood is Mount.
So again, this is where we're starting to get to the places like Crestwood, Homewood. These are ideal areas where at some point in time you're going to deal with normal traffic of going to work, getting off work. Homewood is one of those when there's a lot of traffic on the freeway, expect the main ways to get congested. I ain't gonna lie. Homewood, to me, is little bit of perfect. A little bit of perfect, a little bit of everything. They were well developed to try to sprinkle a little bit of everything into Homewood. They made a great amount of space, a lot of different lifestyles, very walkable neighborhoods. Edgewood is going to be the area where it's very walkable, where a lot of food places and things like that is going to be at. The entertainment district that they have is going to be there. All the places where the high volume of traffic of food is going to be surrounded in that area. And then as you go to west and eastbound of Homewood, you start going off into more isolated neighborhoods in a sense, but still have a sprinkle of mom and pop shops, bakeries, nice foodery, and churches and all this stuff. So it sprinkles it in a little bit everywhere. Yeah. Like, Homewood is probably one of the best areas in the state, hands down.
Brook. And this is one of the most established high-end areas in all of Birmingham and really all of Alabama. It's about 4 to 6 miles from UAB, so your commute is still very manageable, typically 10 to 15, 20 minutes, depending on traffic. So from a location standpoint, it checks that box. But what really separates you from Mount Brook is the overall feel. As soon as you're in this area, it just feels different. The homes are larger, nicer, the lots are wooded, private, and everything feels more refined and intentional. You're not dealing with a lot of through traffic, and it's noticeably quieter than areas closer to downtown. Architecturally is where things start to really stand out. You'll see a mix of styles, traditional brick homes, stately builds. Honestly, some of the biggest houses in all of Birmingham are right here in Mountain Brook, and definitely the most expensive. Homes here average around $1 million, and it's not uncommon to see properties well above that. So this is definitely a step up from budget standpoint, but what you're paying for is just the beauty. And take one short drive through Mountain Brook and you'll see why the houses are so expensive. It's beautiful. The houses are beautiful. The neighborhoods are beautiful. The community, all the shops and stuff are just, it's beautiful. It is a beautiful place to live. You have to pay for it, but it's a beautiful place to live. So if you're looking for something a little more upscale, but still want to be close to UAB, Mountain Brook is definitely the area to choose. Now, if budget is a bigger factor, Fulton.
Let me, rich people, rich people money. Beautiful houses, beautiful, well thought out mixture of some small shops, private areas. They have a few paths and trails that you can walk by. It's living the lifestyle of a wealthy family, ideally. Still distance, a good little drive, but not too bad. If traffic is going on, then yeah, that 10 to 20 minutes is probably going to turn to 30. But the more that you know about the city and the roads, the better you can kind of navigate through all of that. Hamburg is ideally for, it has a nice amount of houses and landscape and property in that regard. However, you can save money going elsewhere. Now, if you just, making a crazy ton of money and you have that lifestyle where you have a quality, rich lifestyle where you want your kids to go to a very high educated school and they're not that far from Homewood, all of this stuff is possible here in Mountain Brook. Mountain Brook gives a very secluded feeling, so much so that you can feel the difference once you enter Mountain Brook. Like, no matter which angle that you enter Mountain Brook from, you can feel the rich energy. A lot of wealthy people here stay here, especially that make what they like to call old money. But, it's just the quality. Really, really high quality. There, I would say the diversity, not so much, but the lifestyle in itself and the housing is amazing. I would say if you wanted more diversity while still having a quality house, Homewood would be more flexible and beneficial to you over Mountain Brook to me. Yeah.
Dell and Gardendale are definitely worth considering. These are both located north of Birmingham, and they start to give you a different type of living experience compared to the other areas of UAB. Fultondale is typically about 15 to 25 minutes from UAB, depending on traffic and where in Fultondale you are. You see more new construction, more retail, more restaurants coming in. It feels like an area that's developing and expanding. And from a housing standpoint, you're going to get more for your money here. Prices typically fall between $240 and $300-ish, and a lot of the houses are newer. Think 1970s to new build houses. And Gardendale is just a little bit farther north, and you're usually about 20 to 30 minutes commute to UAB. Just again, depends on what part of Gardendale you're at. You'll see larger lots, more separation between homes, and a quieter overall environment. It's less about walkability here and more about space, privacy, and a little bit more room to spread out. Prices here are still very reasonable, around $300,000 on average. So it's another strong option if you're trying to stay within a certain budget. Both Fultondale and Gardendale are fantastic places, no matter the price point. But given their proximity to downtown and their price point, they are an area I always recommend for clients to check out. There's all kind of areas around Birmingham that I didn't mention as well. If you want to go further out, there's areas in Shelby County that are fantastic. Helena, Alabaster, Pelham, even Chelsea is one of the fastest growing cities in all of Birmingham and the state. So if you want to be farther out, 30, 40 minutes out, there's great areas to recommend as well. But if you're trying to stay within, say, 20 minutes from downtown and UAB, these are some of the areas that I would look. If you're going to spend the next few years building your career here, long days, early mornings, late nights, some days are going to just feel nonstop. Others, you're trying to just get home, reset, and do it all over again the next day. And where you live is either going to support that or make it harder. There's a difference between a quick, easy drive home or sitting in traffic when you're already exhausted. The difference between walking into a place that helps you unwind or one that adds more stress to your day. If you look online, there's a lot of places that you could look, but these are the areas that I would start. If you have any questions, all my information below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.
So the last part, the Foldendale Garden area, I'm gonna say for the wealthy family that's making six figures out of all of these places, ideally for me, with my mindset, this is a steal. It's definitely the north side of town compared to everywhere else. Everywhere else was more towards the south, southwest, southeast. Not even southwest, more like south to southeast. All the locations were south to southeast of UAB and downtown area. Foldendale and Garndale is the only one that was on the far further north side with the equivalent distance of, I want to say, Homewood. Homewood has more traffic, more volume, more options. I would say ideally, because of how tight knit it is, I can understand why I would go for Gardendale or Foldendale, just because I can save more money, I can have more acre to my property, housing, spacing. It has a lot of potential to expand and grow and be like Homewood in a sense, with a lot more land to expand and grow with on the north side of town. The traffic, outside of the traffic that you got to deal with, the rest of the time out is not so bad, right? The schools are pretty great. I would say out of the group, I would say if I had to rank them overall, Homewood, Mountain Brook, then Garndale, then Foldendale, and that order. Pertaining to elementary schools and all that stuff, and high school programs. But yeah, definitely a steal. Definitely where you can save a great amount of money, especially for a wealthy family, where you can have more land, have more property to work with and do with, all of that stuff. Still a considerable drive to the hospital from there, though. From that UAB hospital, it'll be a considerable drive, so just be mindful of that. But if you're up in age and you want to be a little bit closer, ideally, and then ambulance cost and some other things like that, Homewood would be ideal. But if you like your space, if you like your privacy to a certain degree, and you want a growing area with a family structure, Gardendale and Foldendale, definitely ideal places based on the list that he has. There's a lot more places, I would say, that will be more workable and tailored towards minority families, if you will. But if you have the budget to afford these are accurate to pick options and stuff like that. And what you was talking about with Pelham, Helena, Chelsea, and all that stuff, there is a lot more areas that will save you some money, or it will cost just as much as Mountain Brook, have the amenities of equivalent to Homewood, but it's built differently. So all of it will be located, all of it that he listed was located south of Birmingham. Not too much is going to be towards north of Birmingham until you go to like northeast corner towards Trussville and Centerpoint. Trussville will be your next equivalent to a wider space, kind of like a hybrid version of, if I had to say, It'll be a mixture of Homewood mindset towards things, and shopping options and stuff like that with the land mass of Gardendale or Fultondale combined. And they have a lot more potential as well. But it also gives you a slight feeling of, certain rich families going to be in certain neighborhoods as well and trust. You definitely got to be making a career, doing well to live in Trustville. So no slouch there. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. I like the way they described the houses, going out the way. There was a few things that you could bring up and mention that if you drive around, you will see for yourself. But I just kind of wanted to be based upon everyday lifestyle, the things that you would think about on a week-to-week basis, and just go from there, But until next time, until next channel, peace. Yeah, I love me some Homewood, babe. Yeah. I like blazing the fuck out of Homewood.